Welcome back. We're in conversation with our country's Central Vigilance Commissioner, Shri Pradeep Kumar. So talking now, before we move into vigilance again and corruption again, I want to just start a little bit of your journey. You are an IIT Delhi graduate, that means an engineer,
Yes.
and a master's in economic and social studies, and then you joined the IAS.
I joined the IAS after doing my graduation from IIT Delhi.
Okay.
And after serving in IAS for 10-12 years, I was sent on a one-year
Okay.
program where I acquired this master's in economic and social studies.
An engineer in the IAS. I just want to say you had from IIT Delhi, one of the premier institutions. Why did you go towards the civil services?
The civil services offer a challenge of its own kind, and I am from the IAS. I don't want to sound I am modest, but the kind of challenges that IAS faces and the opportunities that it gives to serve the people also, it is amazing. And in 70s, when I passed out, IAS was the thing that people wanted to join. Though I may say so that in our class of 60, about 45 people went to the USA. That is something that didn't attract me. And my parents also felt that going to USA is no big deal, frankly speaking. So I joined the IAS.
Which is unusual because at that time, that was like the mecca of, saying, Kar liya, you need to now go, the brain drain area.
Everybody used to go, and getting admissions also was not an issue. That was the first phase, so anybody could go to USA. But that is something that really didn't excite me much.
Now I want to bring it to the current context. India, young country, we wanting to reap a demographic dividend. Young people who are active, aware, want to make a difference, want to actually renew the country and its systems. How would you advise them to come within or work from outside?
Actually, it depends on the individual itself. It is what he is looking for. Some people can make a difference by being within the system. Everybody has a role, and you have a lot of challenges and opportunities to help in shaping policy if you are working within the system. And there is a role for those who are working outside, because in a democratic country, the NGOs, the civic groups also play a very important role. So actually one should pursue where one's heart takes you. This is one thing that I think Steve Jobs said, and I am a firm believer in that, that wherever your heart takes you, don't be very much intimidated by what others tell you, and do what you feel like. After all, life is a journey. Opportunities come, some you miss, some you get.
You spoke of public interest. Today is a time of, personal interest. Everybody is thinking of personal interest. You want to make the country go forward, we need to think of public interest. You want to make your community go forward, you need to think of public interest. So, ye public interest vis-a-vis personal interest, and you have always been, I'm sure, facing this throughout. How do you manage to straddle it so beautifully?
It has, frankly speaking, it has never been an issue with me. So I really am not in a position to comment. But ultimately, everybody wants a decent life. But the question is that ultimately, that if you allow the selfish interest to overpower the other things, then you are on a slippery road, and the choice has to be made by the individual himself. It is ultimately your choice, and I think the family, the school, the societal values play a very major role, and the societies which are more fair, which are more equal, there perhaps the people have a greater opportunity to, in a sense, to be they are more honest in a way if there is less of exploitation and more equitable distribution of resources.
So for an individual who, this is something which would have been your experience also, but I'm also talking from the point of view of a lot of young people who have this fear of saying, if I move into government service, the system is corrupt, I will also become corrupt. But to say that there are many honest people who are in the system doing wonderful things. So this battle between the individual, and how does the individual change the system?
In any area, if you are pursuing some line of action, then you have to make a choice. It is not something like this, that I want this, and in pursuing this particular goal I would not have to make some sacrifice. To illustrate, if you want to say that I want to be honest, then at times you may get transferred, you may not get a posting of your choice. But is it such a calamity that you give up the path? So it is a question of always making a choice, and it is your own makeup which enables you to make that choice. The trouble these days is that you say that, look, I wanted this, I couldn't get it, and therefore I deviated. So this is not something that I find very comfortable. But there has to be a price to be paid. There is nothing like this. And the question is, what is the other alternative? If you move this, is it going to be a more happy life? It is a wider view of what kind of a life you want to live.
And finally we say it's all about the choices we make. To say कि ये हो गया, कर गया.
It is a choice. If you can have a good night's sleep after being corrupt, it is up to you. Some people may not be able to come to terms with their conscience after that. So that's a matter of personal choice. I am nobody to judge or advise on this.
So wanting to come back to the issue of the mandate of the commission, the CVC. Now the Central Vigilance Commission has a role, and as you said, the constructs are changing, the kind of vigilance required is changing. You have a mandate. What all can be added to that mandate to actually make this commission perform even better?
One is that we must do the task that is given to us to the satisfaction of the people. And one of the key strengths of the commission is to maintain its neutrality and its independence as an external oversight mechanism. We cover only the central government employees. We do not cover the state government employees. That is not in our mandate. So that is fair enough. There is no issue on that, because it is by its name a Central Vigilance Commission. But we do need people. We need to because the training skills, we need to have a capacity building. But basically our charter is very wide. Even currently it is like this, that we cover all the central government organizations, all the ministries, all the public sector undertakings, all the banks, all the insurance companies, and all the 6.5 million employees of the central government are under our charter. And also the nearly for 2 lakh employees we provide direct external oversight, that is to say for their punishment, etc., our advisors sought. Then we have also the superintendence over the CBI for anti-corruption cases. So in a sense we have a very wide remit in that sense. The question is that in this wide remit, as it is said, that there may be gaps in law, there may be other issues which we constantly take up with the executive, and we try to see that we have a framework which is more conducive to fighting corruption.
How seriously are these suggestions taken by the executive?
No, they are taken very seriously, and in fact you see this public procurement law which is coming, we have worked very closely with the Ministry of Finance on this, and even on other issues like the public services delivery law and others. We do work closely with the government to see that we are able to strengthen the framework for fighting corruption.
Globally, sir, when we see vigilance, in the last 15 to 20 years, it's taken a higher place in terms of priorities of governments. India's vigilance working mechanism, how to keep that in place vis-a-vis the rest of the world, how are we placed?
Actually, we are in a sense one of the countries, the comparisons, transnational comparisons are always difficult for the simple reason that we are a democracy, and in a sense all our problems are out in the open. So firstly, comparing a democracy with the dictatorship itself is an odd comparison, because where there is no openness, the levels of corruption may be different. What is different? I would say that large scale corruption, which we call grand corruption, is there across the world. Where India is having a problem is in the petty corruption, that is to say a corruption where a person is going to an office and he has to pay money to get a license, a birth certificate, registration of land, etc. Those kind of petty corruption is definitely a problem in India, and that I think the developed Western democracies, etc., have solved to a large extent.
And I think because their systems are
systems are there, technology would help, but it is also linked to a supply and demand situation.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. If you go to a hospital and if you are a poor person and your mother is ill and you want her to be admitted to a hospital, you are not able to get a bed. Now it is a moral dilemma. It is easy to say. The orderly there says that give me 50 rupees and I will allow her to be in a general ward. So those kind of issues are not there. So we have our own kind of problems which poverty is creating, but definitely we have a problem in delivery of services at the cutting edge level. But as far as grand corruption is concerned, etc., our laws are good, and in a sense, because we are an open society, so we debate them much more.
Which is a healthy sign.
Which is a healthy sign, as I said. And the churning process goes on, then the parliament responds, the government responds, the civic activists take it up, and in a process some things do come out of the whole process. It may be not to everyone's satisfaction, but this dialogue carries on.
So don't look at the froth which the churning has brought as a system. The system is stronger and deep, and this is a part of this whole thing.
No, let me tell you, 40 years back when I joined, many of the things that could be done by the leaders, today they cannot be done, because the system is more transparent. Even in public procurement, etc., now the public procurement is far more open, the rules are far more clearly laid down, and transparency, fairness, etc., is far more insisted upon. Right to Information Act is also an act which has been brought about by Indians, and it has empowered the citizen. The citizen has started questioning those in power, and that itself is a healthy sign.
Also, you know, when we talk of corruption at the institutional level, how do we see corruption at the personal level? Because an institution's interface is the common man. That means somewhere the common man is probably also taking the easy way out and saying, works for me, chalne do.
Yes, this is like this. I think this is linked again with the question of the values that the society is espousing. So, without sounding disrespectful, I would say that many of those who would in drawing rooms talk very aggressively about corruption and anti-corruption have no hesitation in taking money when they are in their own offices. So this kind of a hypocrisy is a part that is there, but it does not mean two wrongs don't make a right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And checks and balances are in place for a reason. They're not there to change the basic core of the individual. That is something the individual.
And one thing that one must see that democracy functions not only because the elections take place rightly, the parliament is there, it is also nourished by the institutions of the democracy. And in that sense, if you see over the last 60 years, the judiciary, our independent judiciary, the office of the Chief Election Commissioner, CAG, all these institutions have acquired a greater strength, and in that sense our institutions that nourish the democracy, they itself are gathering strength, and that itself is including the parliament.
True.
And that itself is a positive development.
True. So the future of the commission, how do you see that, the vision?
Well, we hope to keep doing our job better and meet the expectations of the people in some measure at least.
Okay. I can see that the expectations of the people and the common man's link with you is really very, very strong. After having scaled various heights of bureaucracy, and you know, when you start your career in the IS, you're very closely linked, and then slowly as you go up higher, the distance increases. How have you still managed to really have your finger on the pulse still?
I don't know whether I have the finger on the pulse, but we are as much a part of society as anybody else, one. And the second thing is that in IAS there is one good thing, that you do not keep working in the central government only. You have to work for a few years in the central government, and then you go back to the state. And when you go back to the state, that is closer to implementation. So that constant dialogue is always there. And I think ultimately we are all citizens of this country and are as much a part of the problems that everybody faces.
Right.
There is no difference.
At a personal level, sir, what keeps you inspired and passionate every morning to say, oh, you don't say, oh God, another day. You say, wow, another day.
I neither say wow another day, nor do I say that is. It's. I think one thing that helps everybody is a sense of duty. I think this is something that you must try to cultivate.
Okay.
A sense of duty that what you have to do, you must do right, and a certain temperament of equanimity. That those two qualities, it is difficult, but one must keep trying to develop it. That is what I think that helps you over the long haul.
So you came and you're passing through our program. I wish we could have really kept you, but you're a busy man. Thank you so much for taking time out. We really learned a lot, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.